The attorney joined the crew club and his life was forever changed. Anytime his schedule allowed, he'd volunteer as crew on a sailboat and enjoy all the freedom and elements of his sailing dream: camaraderie, exploration, and more, with none of the limiting factors of owning a boat or being responsible for navigating and captaining. So you see, by getting something in motion in a given day, today, this guy realized he wasn't missing out on a dream of sailing. An attorney friend of mine realized after decades of frenzied, all-consuming trial work and business travel that he was envisioning himself on a sailboat traveling from the U.S. to Europe. This dream had gnawed at him for decades, leaving him frustrated at the end of each day that he just wasn't there yet. But if he just gets through this next trial, ... he wanted to be a sailor. He wanted to sail across the ocean. And somehow he was trying to achieve that goal by simply finishing this trial and finishing that trial, because he was born an attorney. He started out an attorney and he kept being an attorney. But the dark abyss that lay between his life of always on-call duty to his law firm and the dream of untethered solo exploration over big waters was too daunting, too deep, and held far too binary choices for him. So attorney, sailor, how do you get from here to there? He finally committed himself to bringing this inspiration out in the real world. His first, albeit impulsive, experiment was to buy a motorboat and get basic captain's training. He enthusiastically dove into his endeavor, and once he got into a steady state mode wherein he could take the boat out each weekend, he stopped using the boat. His college kids' lives had him flying out of state frequently to see their athletic competitions, and demand at his law firm never let up. Weekend work powwows remained de rigueur. And then he bought books on sailing and took an introductory online class to learn the basics of sailing a ship. By the end of the course, he found the protocols of sailing to be drudgery. When he was at work dreaming of sailing, he never craved more rules, more rigors, more protocols. He craved freedom, visual stimuli, and the unknown elements that come with travel to new places. These various experiments began to make him think his dream of sailing was actually unfit for his life, his family, and his wiring. He tried to wash away the thought of sailing and sold his motorboat. But one day, chatting at a pub, he mentioned his silly dream of sailing. His buddy told him about the local sailing marina's crew club. The crew club was a network of people who don't own or captain sailboats, but who are willing to volunteer to be crew on the boats of marina members for a day or multi-day excursions. The attorney joined the crew club and his life was forever changed. Anytime his schedule allowed, he'd volunteer as crew on a sailboat and enjoy all the freedom and elements of his sailing dream: camaraderie, exploration, and more, with none of the limiting factors of owning a boat or being responsible for navigating and captaining. So you see, by getting something in motion in a given day, today, this guy realized he wasn't missing out on a dream of sailing, because that was going to require a lot more rules and protocols. And he was dreaming of getting away from all those rules and protocols. And by getting it in motion and testing it in real life, he became this part of a crew. He became part of a sailing crew. Didn't have to be the captain, followed directions, had the camaraderie, took the trips, and it all worked out. But it was by not putting it out to January 1st and taking action today that he was able to refine the plan, test the plan in real life, and he realized he wasn't craving being the captain. He was craving just being on a moving boat with other people. His original idealistic dream was a good one, but without a series of experiments, he'd never have carved away at that ice block to reveal an approach that could fit his wiring in real life. He's now able to sustain this hobby and consider himself a sailor of sorts. I've taken the artistic license in this example to paint a story that is more pithy than the serpentine truth of the tale. So, as you know, I'm writing this for a blog. I didn't want to write all the highs and lows of this particular. Entering the darkest cavern in the pain cave. The hobby example above is far simpler to implement than the big life or career changes that come with difficult choices. The stakes are higher in big life changes. It takes more time and soul searching because along with adding something new comes difficult choices and the likelihood that those choices will disappoint others, change our standards of living or lifestyles, and otherwise put dents in our current norms. These difficult choices will often abut the expectations of others and perhaps cause some friction. Transformational change includes being visible to others making messes. You are making messes, and that's going to be visible to the outside world. And you're in the middle of an unfinished story. Some faction of your current network, peer groups, and community are bound to see you making big, messy change and ask with a disapproving tone, "So you're doing what?" You're going to hear that. Get ready. If you're going through the pain cave, get ready to face people who are kind of disapproving.